So now I want to talk a little bit about an article by James Conant about Nietzsche's perfectionism and Conant's reading of Schopenhauer as educated. And the key question at the core of this is, was Nietzsche an elitist? Now you might think, given what we've read so far, his clear preference for aristocracy as a political principle, his enthusiasm for the master morality, and his relentless disparagement of the herd, that you think the answer would be easy, right? And in a way it is, but there's a more interesting version of this question that Conant pursues and that I want us to look at. So, in Schopenhauer's Educator, Nietzsche makes this argument about us all being factory products, but if we have the right exemplars, if we have people who show us the human possibility of being better than we are, of being more individual, of shaping our lives in the way that artists shape their materials to produce something coherent and fine and unique, right? Then we can do better. Well, in places, Nietzsche frames this argument in terms we've already seen in the Greek state. He starts going on about how mankind as a whole, humanity as a whole, is only redeemed by the production of a small number of interesting, artistically special, creative, superior types, right? So if we produce Schopenhauer or Napoleon or Beethoven or Goethe, that justifies and redeems the whole bloody mess of human history, right? All the lives spent either tilling the earth or working in factories or fighting in wars are all justified. Why? Because they concentrate wealth into create societies that make possible Goethe or Beethoven or whoever it is. So he starts to whistle that kind of tune again. So it sounds at that point in Schopenhauer's Educator as if all this stuff about the improvement of the young soul is really only directed at somebody who has a serious shot of being one of those few superior people for whose sake the whole business of human history exists, and in whose service the rest of us find our purpose in life. In which case, why am I reading this, right? Because if the chances are I'm not going to be one of those people, then maybe I should just go back to the factory or join the regiment or go back to the farm and just do my bit to make the kind of world in which that kind of superior excellence can exist. No, says Conant, you're misreading him. It's a mistranslation. Really, if you understand the original German and you read it right, then this is a call to everybody. This is a call to all of us to try and be less factory product-like, more individual, to take control over who we are, to engage in a project of self-fashioning, to try and find out what your higher self is like, and to try and turn your current self into something that is more like that superior version of you. And, says Conant, anybody can do this. There is nothing in Nietzsche's argument that prevents any of us from doing that. There's nothing in Nietzsche's argument that prevents any of us from trying to be less factory product like, more individual, from trying to be a better person in this sense. And this is what perfectionism means. So this is an idea really from Stanley Cavell, but Conant takes it up and he finds it in Nietzsche. Perfectionism is not the idea that you should try to be perfect. It's rather the thought that you need to be working on your soul, you need to be working on yourself, that we are all called to try to become better versions of who we already are. Not that there is some model of the perfect person. So if you think about Aristotle offers you the great-souled man, right? So Aristotle offers you a model of what the ethically ideal person should be, and it's the same model for all of us, right? He paints a picture of the great-souled man, and we should try and all become that. Similarly, I guess in Christian ethics, there's the idea we should all try and become more Christ-like. So Christ is the model to which we should all aspire. In perfectionism, there is no one model that we should all try and aspire to. Rather, we should all try and become better versions of ourselves. So, this is what Conant finds in Schopenhauer's Educator. Now, it seems to me that there's a plausible middle line where Nietzsche clearly is an elitist. He has aristocratic political inclinations. I would imagine that the actual historical Nietzsche would find it quite implausible that all but a few people should be capable of this kind of self-improvement, this kind of self-fashioning. Nevertheless, there's this fallback position available for Conant where you say, yeah, that's what Nietzsche would be inclined to say. Nevertheless, the logic of his argument leaves it open for any of us to have a go at this. And as he explains, hardly anyone succeeds. Even Schopenhauer doesn't really succeed because Schopenhauer remained excessively interested in what the world thought of him. Nietzsche was hoping that Schopenhauer would be a splendid example of somebody who just went his own way and didn't really care, didn't worry about the fact that the university system didn't want to know him. Said, to hell with it, I'll write my own stuff. But Schopenhauer did retain the habit of rushing out every morning to buy the newspapers, partly to see whether his books had been reviewed. And for that reason, even Schopenhauer isn't the ideal exemplar. And neither, I suppose, is Nietzsche.